After winter break, I went to intern at my family's hotel. I happened to see my nemesis, Sean Harrison, rent out the entire place to propose to my girlfriend, Jennifer Moore. The other students watching all looked at me with pity. Luke Mitchell, you can't blame Jennifer for being materialistic. This five-star hotel belongs to Sean Harrison's family. He's got a huge head start in life. And look at you. I almost didn't register it. This hotel? Sean Harrison's? I rushed up to demand an explanation from Jennifer Moore, only to be beaten up by Sean Harrison's bodyguards. Jennifer, see that? Even the valedictorian has to work for me. He's just a temp worker. Who cares if he gets beat up? Luke Mitchell, crawl over here and lick my shoes, and I'll let you off. With that, he tossed a $100 bill in front of me. Here's a tip, for your medical expenses. Jennifer Moore, nestled in his arms, giggled. I raised an eyebrow. Since when did I have a brother? Seeing that I didn't react to his command, Sean Harrison sneered with condescending arrogance. Luke Mitchell, don't be an idiot. His lackey/minions surrounded me, their faces full of ill intentions. They jeered, you're just a waiter. Serving the hotel air is a blessing. Hurry up and get to it. Maybe Sean will see that you're good at shining shoes and give you a permanent position. Hurry up and show him what you got. I frowned, looked at Sean Harrison, and said decisively, this hotel has nothing to do with you. Before I could say anything else, Sean Harrison kicked me to the ground. Instantly, I gasped, my brows furrowing in pain, my chest tight. I had just started to get up when a group of lackey/minions pinned my shoulders down, forcing me to kneel. I craned my neck, glaring angrily at Sean Harrison, and roared, get them to let me go. Sean Harrison walked up to me, bent down, and tilted his head, a mocking smile on his lips. He grabbed my chin. You still think you're the cool scholar from university? Out in the real world, if you want to be my dog, you have to see if I'm in the mood. Here, I'll give you a chance today. Hurry up and clean my shoes. He winked, and a lackey/minion scurried over with a chair. Sean Harrison held Jennifer Moore and sat down in front of me, raising his foot to smear the sole on my face. I knew he was taking the opportunity to humiliate me. He had always disliked the good students like us at university. My face flushed red, I clenched my teeth, desperately dodging and struggling. I had been spoiled at home since I was little, and I was always the top student in the eyes of my teachers. I had never been subjected to such humiliation. Let me go now. Someone watched the scene with schadenfreude, seemingly kindly advising me, Luke Mitchell, just give in. This hotel is a leader in the hotel management industry. We'll have to rely on Sean Harrison after graduation. Jennifer Moore, snuggled in Sean Harrison's arms, laughed. Luke Mitchell, you say this hotel doesn't belong to Sean Harrison? Is it yours, then? Look at your poor, pathetic self. You wanted to be my boyfriend? Dream on. The humiliation crashed over me like waves, threatening to drown my self-esteem. I couldn't help but shout, this hotel is mine. Let me go now. Everyone was stunned, then bursts of laughter erupted. Jennifer Moore hugged Sean Harrison's neck and laughed until she was out of breath. A lackey/minion standing next to Sean Harrison laughed. This guy's dreaming of being the young master? Jennifer Moore chimed in, exactly. Sean Harrison is the true hotelier. I've been to this hotel with Sean Harrison before, and we were received by the higher-ups. Sean Harrison was called Young Master. Besides, the general manager's last name is Grant, not Thompson. The others nodded in agreement. Everyone in Metropolis knew that the general manager of this five-star hotel was a Grant. But what they didn't know was that my father was the general manager, but just a son-in-law. The chairman was my grandfather. He was the one who really held the power, and I took my mother's last name. I didn't understand what Sean Harrison had to rely on to bully others. Faced with everyone's ridicule, I was about to retort when I saw Sean Harrison's lackey/minion eagerly bring over my backpack. Sean, this is the kid's backpack. Look what I found. My face changed, and I shouted, don't touch my stuff. I struggled desperately to get up, but they held me down tightly. Sean Harrison took out the project proposal from my bag, flipped through it, and a meaningful smile curved his lips. While staring at me, he tore the nearly 100-page proposal to shreds, scattering them over my head. I stared blankly at the white shredded paper, my heart bleeding. This was the project I had put half a year of effort into. My teacher told me there was a high probability of winning first prize, and tomorrow was the last day to submit it. But now it was all destroyed. I looked at the shredded paper on the ground, feeling lost. The lackey/minions laughed loudly, pointing at me and saying, "Look at our Luke straight-A student. His eyes are as red as a rabbit's." Sean Harrison tilted his head and ground his teeth, saying as if in jest, "Just a waiter submitting a management assignment. Managing who? He should just obediently shine shoes." With that, he shoved the sole of his shoe in my face again. The anger flooding my chest gave me endless strength. I threw off the people holding me down and punched Sean Harrison hard, with all my might. Sean Harrison covered his nose in disbelief. The others reacted and quickly grabbed my arms and shoulders. I clenched my teeth and glared at Sean Harrison. Sean Harrison narrowed his eyes and kicked me, one kick after another. "You dare hit me? You wanna try that again?" My legs hurt, my stomach hurt, everything hurt. I forced myself to remain silent, wanting to maintain my last bit of dignity. But it hurt too much. I bit my lip, stifling pain in my throat, and said hoarsely, "What you're doing is against the law." But no one paid attention to me. They just stood by, pointing and laughing at my lack of self-awareness. It wasn't until Sean Harrison was tired of kicking that he took a step back, his face dark, and said, "Luke Mitchell, I declare you fired. You guys, strip off his clothes. These are hotel uniforms. Let him go out naked." He smiled sinisterly as he said this. "Luke Mitchell, I'll make sure you don't even deserve the chance to be my dog." Jennifer Moore exclaimed, complaining, "Really, there's a girl here." Sean Harrison covered Jennifer Moore's eyes, coaxing, "Don't watch, it's an eyesore." The others tore at my clothes, laughing all the while. "This is the first time we've stripped a grown man naked, huh?" I desperately protected my clothes, as if protecting the last bit of my dignity. As my jacket was torn off, they surrounded me, laughing from their high horse, waving my jacket and whistling. My blood was boiling, my temples throbbing, anger and humiliation rushing to my head. In the struggle, my wallet fell to the ground. Someone curiously picked it up and opened it. "Ha! This guy looks a little familiar. Isn't this Sean's dad?" Sean Harrison snatched the wallet, stared at the photo inside for a moment, then looked up, his face terribly gloomy. "So you're the illegitimate child from the gutter." As soon as he said that, my mind cleared. Why did everyone say Sean Harrison was the hotel heir? At first, I thought Sean Harrison was a relative of some high-ranking official, taking advantage of the situation. But now, what wasn't clear? I looked up at Sean Harrison and said, word by word, "You're the one who's my dad's illegitimate child son on the outside." Sean Harrison sneered and took out his phone. "I'll let you die knowing the truth." He showed everyone the photos in his album. The first one was a wedding photo of my dad and his mom, along with photos of the wedding banquet. Then there were family photos from different eras. "See that? This is all evidence. A mistress would only be secretive. Would they be so blatant?" The others nodded in agreement. "That's right. Sean Harrison is the real young master." Someone suddenly realized. No wonder Luke Mitchell said he was the hotel heir. So he's an illegitimate child with dirty thoughts, wanting to become the real young master and inherit the hotel. Doesn't he even look at himself in the mirror? Everyone looked at me with even more contempt than before, as if I were something dirty from a toilet. I knelt on the ground, struggling to get up, but the next moment, my wrist hurt. Someone spotted the watch on my wrist and ripped it off, leaving a few bloody marks on the back of my hand. I reached out to grab the watch, but they pushed me back. "Sean, he was protecting this watch when we were dealing with this kid just now. It looks like this watch is important." Sean Harrison casually shook the watch, glanced at me, and saw that I was staring intently at the watch. He rolled his eyes. I covered my injured shoulder and emphasized again, "I really am the heir to this hotel. My parents' marriage is legal and valid." I added anxiously, "And that watch is really valuable. Please give it back." Jennifer Moore scoffed. "Still hallucinating?" Sean Harrison glanced at me with disdain, then suddenly raised the watch and smashed it hard on the ground. "Everything you have is stolen from me. I can do whatever I want with my things." The watch smashed on the ground with a crisp sound. My face turned pale instantly, and I shouted, "No! I didn't even realize that my voice was full of intense pleading. I wanted to reach out, but the group of lackey/minions used all their strength, and my arm was about to break. Sean Harrison was very satisfied with my reaction. He looked at me provocatively and crushed the watch on the ground with the sole of his shoe in front of my face. At that moment, it felt like my heart w. as being trampled on the ground. "Grandma, Grandma." I couldn't help but murmur, "Grandma, I'm sorry." The image of my grandmother before her death appeared before my eyes. Years of illness had tortured her beyond recognition, but she was still holding on to her last breath, waiting for me to come. When I held her hand, she used the last of her strength to touch me, and at the last moment, she tremblingly handed me this watch that she had carried with her for half her life. "Thompson, Grandma is leaving. Grandma has worn this watch for half her life, and now I'm giving it to you." I grew up with my grandmother and always regarded that watch as the companion she left behind. But now, it was gone. I broke free from the restraints and lunged toward the broken watch, carefully picking it up. "Grandma, I'm sorry." Jennifer Moore's laughter was abrupt. She pointed at me and said, "Look, Luke Mitchell is crying, just because of a watch." The others were also surprised, but Sean Harrison turned his wrist, his face sinking. "These tears aren't enough. Because of this mistress and her son, my mom and I can't see my dad all the time. Now that I think about it, there were several times when my mom was sick, and they seduced my dad away. Brothers, teach this illegitimate child a lesson. Jennifer, stand back, don't get blood on yourself." I clutched the broken watch to my chest, wanting to take out my phone to call the police, but it was knocked away, and the phone slid far away. "Stop it, I'm not an illegitimate child." I kept emphasizing, but all I got in response were punches and kicks. They looked ferocious, surrounding me from above, and some people even said jokingly, "Aren't we doing justice for heaven?" Of course we are. Hitting a mistress and hitting an illegitimate child both count. I wanted to stand up and resist, but there were too many of them. The more I struggled, the more excited they became, like bloodthirsty beasts. Hitting a mistress and hitting a legitimate child accompanied the punches and kicks that landed on my head. I didn't know when my nose had started bleeding, covering my face. The humiliation and anger in my heart made me forget the pain for a moment. I flailed my fists and feet, but they retaliated with even harsher punishment. I didn't know when they stopped. My head was spinning, my vision flickering, and I couldn't even stand steadily, but I kept saying, "I'm not an illegitimate child, my mom isn't a mistress." Sean Harrison ground his teeth, still not appeased. He asked someone for a black marker and had them hold me down. They actually wrote the words "illegitimate child" on my face. He turned on the front camera of his phone. "Luke Mitchell, open your eyes and take a good look, ha." Jennifer Moore and the lackey/minions took out their phones to take pictures of me. I looked at the crooked black letters on my face, blurred with blood, looking like black snakes coiling around my face. It was disgusting. A wave of humiliation surged into my heart. I tried desperately to wipe off the writing, but I couldn't muster any strength. The flashlights were already flashing, and I panicked, trying to cover my face. But Sean Harrison pulled my hand away, a wicked smile on his face, and said to the onlookers, "Jennifer, start a live stream and send the link to the university group chat. Let everyone see Luke straight A student." Then he turned to me, grabbed my chin, "Admit that you're an illegitimate child and your mom is a mistress, and I'll let you go." With that, he waved his hand, took Jennifer Moore's phone, and pointed the camera at me. "Say it." I clenched my teeth, wanting to turn my head away, but he forcefully held me in place. The number of viewers in the live stream was rapidly increasing. Many familiar names came online. At that moment, panic, anger, and humiliation overlapped. I couldn't tell which one was taking over, but I had only one thought: I wanted to escape from this camera. But C.N. Harrison wouldn't allow it. "Is that Luke Mitchell? I can't be seeing things, right? What happened to him? Look at the words on his face, illegitimate child. What does that mean? Could it be that Luke Mitchell is an illegitimate child?" Sean Harrison's lackey/minions came online in real time, adding, "Luke Mitchell is an illegitimate child. He even said he was the hotel heir. Now he's being taught a lesson by the real young master. Look at his poor, pathetic self." My voice was already hoarse, but I kept saying, "I'm not an illegitimate child, I'm not." He's so pitiful. He said he's not. Could there be some misunderstanding? Luke Mitchell usually seems pretty upright. It shouldn't be, right? Jennifer Moore scoffed and said into the camera, "What misunderstanding? I was his girlfriend for half a year, and he never even gave me any expensive gifts. Someone as poor as him, saying he's a rich young master? Who would believe that?" Other lackey/minions joined in, and some even posted Sean Harrison's and my dad's photos in the comments section. The public opinion completely sided with Sean Harrison. Sean Harrison was amused, forcing me to look at the camera while reading the insulting comments. How shameless. Luke Mitchell usually seems pretty serious, but he's actually the son of a vixen. An illegitimate child dancing in front of the real young master. He deserves to be taught a lesson. I didn't want to hear, and I didn't want to see, but the slander and abuse were like sharp arrows piercing my ears and drilling into my head. I shook my head desperately. I wanted to prove my innocence. I wanted to clear my name. Sean Harrison read to his heart's content, but when he turned to look at me, I still looked unconvinced and unwilling to give in, which reignited his anger. He threatened fiercely, "Say it now. You're an illegitimate child, and your mom is a mistress, and I'll spare you. Otherwise." He paused, and his voice dropped 8 degrees. "I'll coo away your house and money and make you and your mom sleep on the streets. And I'll host a mistress special for your mom, so everyone in the city can see what a mistress looks like." When I heard him mention my mom, I instantly perked up, and my adrenaline soared. I didn't care about my life anymore. I was going to fight you to the death. Just then, there was a flurry of footsteps outside the closed banquet hall. Bodyguards lined up to greet, shouting in unison, "Hello, Chairman. Hello, General Manager." When they heard someone was coming, Sean Harrison quickly found a napkin to stuff in my mouth, then had people tie me up and put me under the table. With the tablecloth covering it, I couldn't see outside. But I knew my grandfather was here. My heart was pounding, and my tongue moved frantically in my mouth, trying to spit out the tablecloth. The lingering pain on my body was still spreading, and the wet nosebleed had already soaked my white shirt. The overwhelming hatred was like a fire igniting me. I was going to make them all pay. My grandfather leaned on his cane, each step leaving a tapping sound on the ground. I knew from the sound that they had entered the banquet hall. Seeing the person, Sean Harrison and his lackey/minions immediately tidied up their clothes, putting on appropriate smiles. They actively greeted my dad and grandfather. My dad pointed at Sean Harrison and introduced him to my grandfather with a smile. "Chairman, this is Sean Harrison, the outstanding graduate in hotel management from Easton University that I mentioned to you before. I plan to specially recruit him into our hotel to be my assistant." As soon as he said this, the other lackey/minions looked like they knew it all along. Sean Harrison quickly approached my grandfather, his face smiling but also with a hint of contempt. "Hello, Chairman, I'm Sean Harrison." My grandfather glanced at Sean Harrison, then immediately looked away, scanning the crowd, then frowned and said to the Director Smith beside him, "Where is he? Wasn't he supposed to report for duty today?" Director Smith responded respectfully, "The personnel department did say he was reporting today." The other waiters also said that he entered this banquet hall and then never came out. Director Smith was also puzzled. How could a person just disappear? My dad looked puzzled and asked, "Who are you looking for, Chairman?" "Luke Mitchell. Your son, Luke Mitchell. He's here today as an intern to learn. I came specifically to see him." Sean Harrison froze on the spot, Jennifer Moore froze on the spot, and the group of lackey/minions who had just been wearing polite smiles froze on the spot. My grandfather had lived so long, he was naturally astute. He narrowed his eyes and looked around, knowing that something was up. While they were talking, I slowly broke free from the ropes and struggled to crawl out from under the table. "Grandpa!" In an instant, everyone's eyes were focused on me. My grandfather's beard trembled with excitement, and his cane tapped rapidly on the ground. He walked towards me anxiously, looking incredulous and heartbroken. "Thompson, my Thompson. The words on your face, and all this blood. What exactly happened? What happened?" My dad hurried over, wanting to help the old man, but he was brushed aside. My grandfather only cared about me, his eyes full of anxiety and heartache. He grabbed my arm. I saw his eyes instantly wet. Everything just now felt like a nightmare I couldn't wake up from, and seeing my grandfather, I knew the nightmare was over. My voice was almost choked with emotion. Grandpa! Hey! The expressions of the people who saw the scene varied, with Sean Harrison's expression being the worst. My dad obviously didn't know what had happened yet. He asked, "What's going on here? How did you get like this?" I glared at him through gritted teeth, pointed with my hand, and said word by word, "It was all done by your illegitimate child son, M." Why Dad followed the direction of my finger and saw Sean Harrison. His pupils contracted, and his face changed instantly. He turned to glare at me. "Luke Mitchell, what nonsense are you talking about? What illegitimate child son?" I pointed to the writing on my face. "See that? He wrote that. He said he was the heir to this hotel, he was your son, and I was an illegitimate child who couldn't see the light of day." My grandfather was so angry that he was blowing his beard and glaring. He waved his cane, about to hit my dad. My dad quickly took a step back, explaining, "Dad, don't listen to Luke Mitchell's nonsense. This must be just kids messing around with each other. You can't take children's words seriously." My grandfather pointed at me. "Look at him. What does the child look like? Would anyone messing around do this? I'll beat you to death, you heartless wretch. I'll beat you to death, you ungrateful illegitimate child." As soon as he said that, a solid cane hit my dad. My dad endured it without a word. That guilty look in my grandfather's eyes told him everything he needed to know. My grandfather shouted, "Misfortune in the family, misfortune in the family." Just then, Sean Harrison's lackey/minions already knew the truth and wanted to sneak away while we were having internal conflicts. I shouted at the bodyguards at the door, "Stop them. None of you are going anywhere. The police are on their way." I had just found my phone and called the police. As soon as I finished speaking, the bodyguards stopped them. Now, the lackey/minions were completely panicked. They blamed each other. "He did it all. I just watched. I didn't do anything. It was him, not me." In the end, they all said it was Sean Harrison who instructed them. Sean Harrison's face darkened, and he approached my dad, calling out, "Dad." My dad gave him a fierce look and slapped him hard. "I'll beat you to death, you brat." With this slap, half of Sean Harrison's face was red and swollen. Sean Risen covered his face in disbelief. What made him even more devastated was that my dad said, "You're the illegitimate child son I raised outside. Have you had enough of the good life? What are you doing causing trouble?" Everyone was stunned for a moment. Sean Harrison covered his face, his cheek muscles tense. First disbelief, then hurt and hatred in his eyes. After my dad finished speaking, he looked at me. "Thompson, how about we just let it go? Look, Dad has already taught your brother a lesson. You two are connected by blood, after all. You'll have to support each other in the future." Before I could speak, my grandfather snorted coldly, rebuking, "Let it go? Not only can we not let it go, but even you are banished from the family." These words were firm and powerful. My dad's face changed several times. "Dad, you can't. My grandfather, personnel, issue a letter of dismissal today. Legal department, draft a divorce agreement. I want him to leave with nothing." The executives around him took the order. My dad turned around and kicked Sean Harrison. "You troublemaking son of a bitch." Sean Harrison was kicked to the ground, groaning. He looked up and stared at me, his eyes full of hatred. After kicking him, my dad turned to face my grandfather. "Old man, don't regret it. I've been rooted in this hotel for nearly 10 years. When I leave with my loyalists, your hotel won't last long." My grandfather tapped his cane and snorted coldly. "Then I'll wait and see." Just then, the police arrived. "Who called the police?" I stood up. Even the police were surprised to see me like this. The director had already ordered the surveillance video of the banquet hall to be copied. I took it and handed it to the police. I carefully took out the broken watch from my arms. My grandfather saw it at a glance, so angry that his beard was trembling. "That's my old lady's watch. You illegitimate childs. Police officers, this watch is worth millions. Sean Harrison and these PLE damaged it." Those who had thought I was joking before widened their eyes, so frightened that they were silent, forgetting to defend themselves. "Millions? How much money was that?" When they were taken away by the police, Sean Harrison, Jennifer Moore, and the others all had long faces. And I was taken to the hospital to be examined and treated. During my stay in the hospital, the parents of the students who had hurt me came to see me. They knelt in front of me, weeping and begging for my forgiveness. I was annoyed and had the bodyguards kick them out. When I was a little better, I started browsing my phone. The school had already learned about the incident and issued a decision to expel these people. All these years of university were wasted for them. They wouldn't get their diplomas. The school forum was abuzz with activity. Some said they were expelled for assaulting someone and ending up in jail, but maybe the thing about me being an illegitimate child was true after all. Rumors were flying, with all kinds of stories. I wanted to type something to clarify, but I felt that words were too weak. I couldn't help but recall the feeling of trembling involuntarily when the words were written on my face and I was forced to face the camera, feeling a chill. At this time, my grandfather came to see me. He saw that I didn't seem to be in good condition, and he was a little worried. He patted my shoulder. "Take good care of your injuries. Don't worry, none of the people who hurt you will get away with it." I nodded and gave him a weak smile. When I was discharged from the hospital, my grandfather was sitting in the car waiting for me. The people around him told me that they had already received news of the court hearing. Just that watch alone, my grandfather could make those people pay until they were penniless. It was said that those people had already started selling their only homes. As for my dad, my grandfather was swift and decisive, firing him and leaving him with nothing, while also recovering the assets he had transferred over the years. Now that family is racking their brains about how to pay the compensation. I sat in the business car, only to realize it was heading to the university. I looked at my grandfather with some surprise. He smiled at me. At the university, my grandfather took me straight to the packed auditorium, heading directly for the stage. I looked at the dense crowd, feeling a little lost and wondering what my grandfather was up to. Then I heard the head of the department holding the microphone. "Today is our annual Mitchell Scholarship. We are honored to have the founder of Grandview Hotel, the elder Luke Schumer, as our guest. Every year, the Schumer Group awards scholarships to outstanding students of the college to encourage them. Now, let's invite the elder to say a few words." My grandfather was in high spirits. He began with a polite speech, and after a few words, he pulled me to his side. "A few days ago, something very unpleasant happened. My grandson was bullied. It's an embarrassing scandal for our family, and I shouldn't be talking about it on this occasion. But as you all probably know, some people have spread rumors that my grandson, Luke Mitchell, is an illegitimate child, and that my daughter is a mistress. Such things that damage our family's reputation are naturally unacceptable. I'm here to make it clear to everyone that Luke Mitchell is my daughter's only child, and David Grant is just a son-in-law who is disloyal, unrighteous, and having an affair. Luke Mitchell is the sole heir to Grandview Hotel." The audience was in an uproar. Who would have thought there would be such a scene today? I was also stunned on the stage, and the next moment my eyes welled up. It turned out my grandfather had seen through my worries. My grandfather took my hand. "Luke, help me down." When I returned to the university again, all I saw were envious eyes. I was planning to discuss my graduation as usual when I was startled by Jennifer Moore, who suddenly rushed out. Because she had been a bystander throughout and hadn't actually done anything, she was released first. Jennifer Moore looked much more haggard. She said to me, "Luke Mitchell, let's get back together." I know I was wrong. I didn't want to hear another word from her and turned to leave. But she grabbed me tightly, begging, "Luke Mitchell, you're a good person. Please, help me. I've been expelled from school. With just a high school diploma, I can't find a good job. What happened that day has also gone viral online. I've lost all face. The things people are saying are just awful. My stepfather now wants to marry me off to just anyone." As she spoke, she started to cry. "He wants to marry me off to a widower in his 40s. Luke Mitchell, think of our past relationship. Let's get back together. Now that everyone knows your identity, my stepfather won't force me." I coldly pried her fingers off mine, one by one, and said sarcastically, "If I remember correctly, you should have already accepted Sean Harrison's proposal." "Jennifer Moore, you've come to the wrong person." She paused for a moment, then said anxiously, "Sean Harrison can't even take care of himself. He hasn't been released yet. Luke Mitchell, please forgive me, please. I violently shook off her arm, which she had grabbed again, and strode forward without looking back, leaving behind her increasingly loud sobs. When I got to my professor's office, he patted me on the shoulder and said, "Luke Mitchell, you've been wronged." Then he handed me a certificate, smiling, "Take a look." "What's this?" I had a guess in my mind, but I still couldn't believe it and opened it almost trembling. "Luke Mitchell, congratulations on winning the first prize in the hotel management industry competition proposal." The professor explained, "After you showed it to me that day, I forgot to tell you. I made a copy for you. When the organizing committee said you hadn't submitted the materials, I happened to hear about what happened to you, so I took the liberty of submitting it for you. This is your hard work. It shouldn't be wasted, nor should it be let down." The fingers holding the certificate trembled slightly, and I said with excitement and sincerity, "Thank you, Professor." "Luke Mitchell, you should thank yourself." In the blink of an eye, I graduated smoothly and officially entered the hotel industry. I heard that those who had harmed me had been released. Coincidentally, I ran into them on my first day at work, right in the hotel lobby. Those old parents were dragging their lackey/minions, kneeling in front of me. "Please, sir, have mercy and let us pay less. Yes, we really can't afford it. We don't even have a place to live. If this goes on, our whole family will have to sleep under a bridge. Even if we sleep under a bridge, we still can't afford it." These people were about the same age as my mother, but almost all of them had gray hair. I felt a little soft-hearted, but when I thought about my grandmother's memento being destroyed, I couldn't bring myself to be lenient. They cried and begged me to forgive them, while Sean Harrison's lackey/minions knelt silently with their parents. Seeing that I was unmoved, these parents hardened their hearts, took out the prepared bamboo sticks, and whipped their lackey/minions, who screamed. I frowned. Wasn't this affecting the hotel's normal business? I told the security guards to kick them out. The parents cried earth-shatteringly, and the lackey/minions howled like ghosts, but my heart wouldn't soften even a bit. You reap what you sow. After my dad was fired by my grandfather, he was arrogant for a while, thinking he could make it on his own. But later, he found that the core members who had followed him for many years simply ignored him. He thought about finding someone to start a business with, but he had only been in that position before because people were supporting him. After actually starting a business, he found that he had to ask for help with everything. He was used to being high and mighty and couldn't bring himself to lower his face or bend his back. He couldn't get anything done. In the end, he lost even the little capital he had left. He had already left with nothing, and now his pockets were emptier than his face. After the court verdict came down, their family's sky fell. They counted the zeros several times, wondering why there were so many. My dad came to me, wanting me to let it go for the sake of our father-son relationship. I only replied, "When you had an affair, you didn't have me as a son." He choked, then became angry. "How can you talk like that? I'm your father. Even if the Jade Emperor comes, that's a fact that can't be changed. How about this? I've brought Sean Harrison here today too. You can do whatever you want with him. You can beat him up, and that'll be the end of it. He's been in there for so long, and his studies have been ruined. You can beat him up again, and that'll even things out." Sean Harrison appeared. He had lost a lot of weight and was no longer as high-spirited as before. He looked at me darkly with a scruffy beard. He gnashed his teeth and smiled strangely. "Little brother, long time no see." I sneered, "I don't do illegal things. As for you, go back where you came from." He still wanted to fight me. His anger was hard to dissipate, but my dad stopped him. I had the bodyguards chase them away. From then on, these scumbags would no longer appear in my life. To be honest, I had thought about setting them up to ruin them, but then I thought, this father and son are already ruined, there's no need for me to do anything. Faced with the high compensation, they couldn't pay and became deadbeats, unable to find jobs. As for those dirty and tiring jobs, how could those two pampered father and son do them? Not long after, I heard that they owed high-interest loan, which snowballed. The people from the high-interest loan wouldn't be polite to them, and they came to collect debts every few days, turning the family upside down. My dad, with his accustomed general manager's temper, started to complain about Sean Harrison, saying that it was all Sean Harrison's fault that he was implicated. Otherwise, he would still be the general manager of a five-star hotel. Sean Harrison, drunk and tipsy, reached out to ask my dad for money, but was scolded. When his temper flared up, he even dared to hit my dad. When two selfish and self-serving bad tempers collided, Sean Harrison's mother saw it and wanted to break them up, but she was pushed away and bumped into the cabinet, and the vase on it fell and hit her head. She fainted on the spot and was taken to the hospital. Later, this family had constant turmoil, with father and son fighting each other. I occasionally heard about it and treated it as a joke. Under my grandfather's guidance, I became more and more proficient in hotel management industry, and the employees below praised me one after another. There was also good news. The watch that was broken was revived by a watch repairman. Although it couldn't be compared with the original, I was very satisfied. When I took the watch back and touched the dial, I said to it, "Grandmother, I will protect it well and never let it be hurt again." One day, I was holding a meeting for employees in the office. After the meeting, I noticed that someone wanted to say something but hesitated. I subconsciously asked, "What's wrong?" "Manager, your father has passed away." I was stunned for a moment before realizing who he was talking about. I shook my head. I don't have a father anymore. However, I was still curious and opened the news, only to see the news of a family of 3 dying from food poisoning. It turned out that Sean Harrison was not my father's biological son, but that Sean Harrison's mother had cuckolded him. After my father found out, he was disheartened. For such a thing, he abandoned his mother, a wealthy and beautiful woman, and gave up the good life of a senior hotel executive. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that he regretted it. And the reality before me was that Sean Harrison would beat his father every time he was drunk, coupled with the constant debt collection. My father finally decided to end it all. In a dinner, he chose to poison himself and also poison the mother and son. Many people in the hotel had worked under him and couldn't help but sigh. I closed the news page and prepared for the next routine meeting as usual.